Here we go, part 3 of the AP World Review on the LEQ. Let's see how this essay, which is worth 15% of your overall AP score, is scored. Okay, so the top things to remember for this LEQ are to know the rubric and know it well, and to answer the prompt that you choose fully. You probably want to go back and reread that prompt several times while you're writing, maybe after every paragraph. This is the essay that gets hijacked the most. People start writing one thing and completely shift the question. A CCOT becomes a comparative randomly, or a periodization starts out that way but then sort of ends as a causation, doing effects or something. Now, the LEQ is the one that has no documents, so you're on your own for answering this thing. You must use your knowledge and nothing else. You'll get 2 choices, but they'll be over the same historical thinking skill. Remember that the essay will be over one of these 4 historical thinking skills: causation, comparison, continuity and change over time, or periodization. Again, like in the DBQ video, here are a few of the ways that I've seen the prompts worded. Another possibility that's not on here for periodization, sorry about that, would be the characteristics of an era essay, where the prompt may say something like, evaluate the extent to which 1450 to 1750 is a unique period in history. It operates the same as a turning point, just kind of a little different in wording, and the era that you're looking at is a little bit longer, obviously, than a single event. Either way, the 2 LEQ options that you'll get will be over that same historical thinking skill, whatever it is. You'll just need to pick one of those 2 options, whatever they turn out to be. So, as for writing this thing, make sure you plan it out, just like the DBQ. Also, choose your question wisely. It's worth taking a minute, or maybe even 2, to ponder which question you're most likely to answer well, rather than choosing the first one you see and finding out 10 minutes later as you're writing that you don't know enough about that topic to really get any evidence points. Once you know what you're doing, figure out what your argument is. There's a point for a well thought out and road-mapped thesis. As a reader, I should be able to see what your main points or paragraphs will be about from that thesis, and how you're actually answering the question. The next points come from answering the prompt fully, through analyzing the historical thinking skill. You get 1 point for just describing the historical thinking skill, like describing causes, if that's what it's asking for, but you get another point if you explain the reasons for those causes. Or in the case of a periodization essay, you get a point for describing why the Industrial Revolution is a turning point in history, or that it is, and then again how it's not, but you get that extra point from explaining it more fully. This is why making sure you plan this essay out is important. You need more than just one thought or one type of thing. You need to explain that thought fully. Next, as you are writing, you get 2 points for using evidence to back up your argument. Since there are no documents, your evidence comes from your brain. There's 2 points for this, much like the discussion of the historical thinking skill, kind of one lower level and then one for really analyzing it. So, if you address the topic with evidence, enough evidence, you get a point. Now, do we know how much evidence they want yet? Nope. That will be decided by the chief readers before the regular grunt readers arrive in June. So put in as much as you know. The second point is for using that evidence well. You don't just throw the evidence in there, you analyze it. You show how that evidence links to your answer to the question. This is like the SAQ though, in that it has to be explicitly linked, or like the synthesis. Your reader can't guess what you mean or try to make the link for you between your evidence and the argument. It has to be written in the essay. Last but not least is your synthesis. That's the 6th point of the essay out of 6. It's the same as the DBQ, except for the DBQ's out of 7. You must extend that argument by connecting it to something else. Now, like I said in the DBQ video, there's about a million ways to do this. When I talk to AP US readers, they say that they end up awarding points for it when it's connected to another time or region. Can you connect it to another theme or discipline? Yes, of course you can. Those are probably harder though, and they're not often attempted because in the heat of the moment they're harder to come up with, I think. So go for anything that comes to mind. The biggest thing is, again, to explicitly link that synthesis to your argument or thesis. You have to connect it, which is why it goes well in the conclusion. So to review, the intro is mainly the thesis, at least 2 body paragraphs where you answer the question through the historical thinking skill, using as much evidence as you can muster, and a conclusion that restates your thesis and discusses something beyond your argument, which is the synthesis. So, now you've been schooled on how to do all parts of this awesome exam and get yourself a score of 3, 4, or 5. If you want to take a look at this, it's thoughts from Mr. Bill Strickland, an AP World guru. This is completely generalized, since the exam scores are kind of bell-curved and depend on who takes the exam, and how well they would do. But if you want a 5, here's the breakdown of what kind of scores you might want to get on each part of the exam. Below that, he has a generic idea of what it will probably take to get a 3, which is considered passing the exam. This might either make you feel pretty good about where you're at or shock you into study mode. I think a 3 is completely doable for you guys, and a 4 or 5 is totally within reach. So make sure you're studying and getting yourself ready for this test, because it's going to be hard, but it's worth it. As you're studying, don't let yourself get distracted by the internet or by Netflix or Twitter. You can do this. Study so that you're prepared for the exam. I hope that regardless of your score on the exam that you receive in July, you'll feel like this class was worth your time, that you learned something, and that you feel like you understand the world more than you did before, that you see the interconnectedness across time and space of events, people, and systems. Anyway, I have enjoyed teaching you, and I know that you'll be fantastic on the exam. Let's do it.